Live from Pacific Junction Hotel, Girth Radio.
What about movies?
All right, movies. Yay! Actually, let's talk about horror movies.
All right.
Yes.
Because that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into the good stuff, can we start talking about the good stuff, the other good stuff, which is what was one of your first or earliest horror movies? We'll just set the scene. You need to set the scene, right?
Set the
You
scene.
can't just go right into the killing right away. So we need to set the scene.
The first one that had a real impact on me was Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what really hit me about that one is that it was scary, but no one dies in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was kind of, and my dad's kid brother pointed that out to me. I said, "Wow, I couldn't believe you could be scared by something and then actually no one died in it."
Yeah.
So it still had that kind of intensity, and I think just that kind of mix of like you've got Toby Hooper's sensibility mixed with Steven Spielberg's, and so the whole thing of like and it was so relatable that I was about the kid's age of the boy with the clown doll and the tree and everything, and so I really related to that kid. I really felt like, and even in fact the little girl in it looked a lot like my middle sister, like that, like the long blonde hair and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's some good night terrors.
There's some night terrors there. So that whole thing like that too probably had that probably had a real impact on me back then. That was the first one, and then,
That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
classic.
Yeah.
The sequels, unfortunately, after that kind of they
Yeah, I
lose their
didn't- yeah,
resonance.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
I was not on board with any of that one. Yeah.
and you, Jen?
I don't know if you even know this movie, Kelly. I have no idea where it went from, but one of my first horror movies, I was way too young to watch it. I think it was called Boogeyman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there was a bunch of kids that got scared by the boogeyman, and at the end of it, they sucked him up into a vacuum cleaner. I have no idea what that movie is. I've never seen it since, but it scarred me for life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable around vacuum cleaners as
No.
well, or like
No.
that also just terrifies you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Some good like night terrors and vacuum terrors.
There you
Now
go.
I know what to get you for Christmas. Yeah.
So we're talking about horror movies because you guys are part of the admin team and founders of Blood in the Snow Film Festival. Yeah.
Yay.
So that's exciting. Can you just introduce yourselves? We'll start with you, Jen, and just kind of tell us the magic that you do for Blood in the Snow.
Sure. I'm Jen Gorman. I am the festival coordinator and I guess industry coordinator for the festival. I came on board in year 2, so Kelly's really the number one guy. But yeah, I kind of handle a lot of the industry stuff, PR stuff, admin stuff.
Yeah, and
Exciting.
I mean, we were, and I'm Kelly Michael Stewart. I'm the festival director and founder. But as Jen's saying, yeah, we wear a lot of different hats. I mean, we're growing, but we're a grassroots organization. So it's the titles are always a funny thing because it really is just a kind of a catch-all because we do so many different aspects of it. I mean, I even do the layout for the program booklet. I mean, I was just on the way here, I was designing the little tent cards that are going to be on an industry day that you put on the table for all the guests, the panel guests we have. Like those little tiny little details like that. And everyone on our team is like that. We have all the people doing different aspects of it. Our senior programmer Kirk Haviland, he helps with their media day and does that, and then one of our programmers helps with some of the admin stuff, and we're very grassroots that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kind of
Yeah.
mirrors independent film too,
Yeah,
though.
it does.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Very
Like,
much.
Big time.
you know what I mean? Like the guy might just be producer, but he might run craft services one day or something. Like everyone kind of pitches in.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Jen and I. That's actually where we come from as well. Is that we're, as well as running this together, we also are film producers. We produced a feature film called Late Night Double Feature. We've produced a few TV shows. So there's actually a lot of parallels to running a film festival with running a movie. In fact, actually, comparatively, I will say running the festival is a walk in the park compared to making a movie. Like it's
100%.
like-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're very empathetic to. I think that's why I think we're pretty good at what we do for running a film festival because the feedback we constantly get from filmmakers is like, oh wow, you get it. This is we have filmmakers fly from all over the country, and every single one of them tells me, oh Kelly, it was worth it. It was totally worth it. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come again. I got filmmakers coming this year that aren't even playing the festival, and they're coming in from Montreal and Vancouver and all over the place, and I think it's because Jen and I we've done. Because we're in the industry, we know everyone in the industry, and so we kind of know what they have to go through. Like we know what it's like to finish the film, go to a different city, and premiere your film, and what that experience is like, both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really looking at it from that perspective. Not just there's the fan perspective, there's that, but we're also very much looking at it from like what's going to be really good for them.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle too, and your genre as well, right? So
Yes.
you have a different set of fan criteria and what they're looking for as
Oh, yes.
well,
Yeah.
right? And so that brings its own set of challenges. So when
Yeah.
you're reviewing submissions now,
Mhm.
what are you looking for? Are you looking for like something original, like a point of view, a direct, like a new voice? What are you looking for when you're like trying to decide what's going to make the festival this year?
If I have to sum it up for every year, it has to be interesting. Because I'll say to people that, you know, if you get a festival badge, what I want is that you might not love everything that you watch, but you'll at least understand why we played it. Or, you know, well, you might go, well, I like this one, but maybe not so much this one, and so on and so on. But what I love is the bar discussion movies. What you don't want is a movie of the week that people will turn off and then kind of go, you got nothing to say about it. And so I kind of like the idea of like after, you know, because we have a lot of great after parties at the fest. I love the idea of the discussion of like, well, I like this, I didn't like this, or I like that too, and then have that kind of passionate vibe to it. So I think the main thing that we're looking for is that it's not derivative, that they have a voice. How that's hard to quantify sometimes, but but we're always looking at, and sometimes, you know, honestly, we'll play stuff that's maybe a little rough around the edges, but they're a filmmaker that we're kind of like, this is someone to watch out for, and it might be kind of rough now, but it's some great things are going to happen down the road.
Horror is great too when you get a whole bunch of people together in a room.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's one of the few genres. Comedy is the same way, where like you want a lot of people in the room, and if the film can provide that experience that you're talking about and provide some sort of spark, some sort of thrill, some sort of chills.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, it's a group experience. Yeah, there's so many times where you're watching stuff and it's like you're not, even if you're able to watch it on Netflix or at home or whatever kind of thing like that, you are not going to get the experience of watching it with a group, because it's like, and you're right, especially with the horror and anything that kind of the genre realm of it, you're not going to get that kind of experience without being around the people.
So you mentioned you're the founder. How did you get this whole festival started? How do you get this horror party started?
It's a good story.
Well, it really kind of goes back to, I used to be a film writer, and I used to write for a couple of outlets, but the main thing I guess I was known for a while was writing for Fangoria. And I was really good friends with the editor at the time, Chris Alexander, and the last iteration of it before it got rebooted into what you see now.
The hand out of the grave.
What?
The hand out of the grave.
Yeah,
right?
it is, exactly. Yeah. I don't know if people know this, but the previous editor of Fangoria, Chris, was based out of Oakville, so he hired a few Canadian writers to come on board. And I knew him for years before that, and so I was doing that, and then I got the opportunity to host my own movie night in the East End of Toronto. Theater's not around anymore, called the Projection Booth, and I did that for about a year. And so, well, it was just kind of a catch-all. Back then in 2011, 12, there was genre screenings in the city, but there wasn't as much as there is now. Like, there was, like, the Toronto Underground was open at the time. At the time, the Review and the Royal and Fox weren't really, they were doing more second run stuff. They weren't, and the Carlton, they were doing more second run stuff, or more regular theatrical run kind of stuff, or other film festivals. But there wasn't really a lot of like themed genre horror nights kind of thing like that too. So I had the opportunity to do that, and it did really well. I actually can take credit for doing the first theatrical screening of Battle Royale.
Oh, nice. That's
Ever.
a good one.
Yeah, and I managed. And it was years. This is 2012. But I found out from Anchor Bay that they had never played theatrically in Toronto. So I managed to get that, and we packed the place. So that kind of put me on the map. And then about 6 months later, I had a couple of we played a few Canadian films once in a while, and they had done well. And I was kind of new to the Canadian indie scene. It was really fascinating. I'd been on set for a few films, and I played a couple at my Fright Nights event. And then I had, suddenly within a month, I had about 6 movies that didn't quite make the cut for Fantasia and Toronto After Dark. Now, these were really good films, but the thing is that when you're submitting it to an international film festival like Fantasia or After Dark, which they'll play maybe 4 or 5 Canadian features out of, in the case of Toronto After Dark, 20, and then about that many for Fantasia. There's a lot of good stuff that gets on the cutting room floor that didn't have a Toronto premiere. So I decided to show them, and rather than roll them out like one at a time, because I had a whole bunch of them, I said, well, why don't I just do it as a weekend? So it was a one time. It was supposed to be like a one-time event, and my initial thought was going to be Fright Night's Blood in the Snow weekend. Blood in the Snow was the tagline of this Canadian themed weekend, and one of
Makes
the
sense.
Yeah, one of the filmmakers I pitched this idea to that was going to give me one of their films. He suggested, it was Gabriel Carrere who did the film in the House of Flies. And he actually ended up creating our logo for Blood in the Snow, by the way. I should give him credit for that. And we were going to play his film along with a few other ones for our first year. And he said, well, that sounds like a film festival. Why don't you call it Blood in the Snow Film Festival? So it became Blood in the Snow Canadian Film Festival. So this was in September of 2012. The festival was in the last week of November 2012. So this whole thing came together in 8 weeks. We didn't have a programming team. We didn't have a staff. I had about 5 volunteers come out at the last minute. No one had assigned roles.
Mm-hmm.
It was chaotic, but we did really well. We had MTV come out. We had two of the 6 screenings that we had were practically sold out, and the other ones were very well attended as well. So we kind of had a thing, and so we had a meeting, and like when Jen was saying, Jen actually came out to our opening night screening.
That's the first time we met.
The first time we met was the very first screening of Blood in the Snow.
So you're an OG.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it had an impact on Jen, and by that same time the next year, she had joined the team, and we had moved it to the Carlton, which we stayed for 3 years. We developed a programming team. We put a staff together. Eventually, we registered as a nonprofit. Like, we did all the things that you do to actually get a proper festival. So in a strange way, it was really funny. I remember having the meeting in December of after the first, like a month after the first festival. I remember having the meeting and opening, going, okay, so now that we've done year 1, how do we do this? So we actually had, the great thing is we had year 1, a successful year 1 in the books before we even sat down to figure out how we're actually going to make a festival.
We're still trying to figure that part out.
We're still trying to figure that part out, but it gave us a good kickstart to do that, because
that kind of goes back to what you're saying about independent film. Sometimes you don't actually realize what you don't know.
Oh,
so you just take the lens cap off and you start shooting, and you're like, we'll figure this out.
And you know what? And I'm glad it happened that way, because I think if I had done too much research or thought about it too long, I probably would have hesitated and did it. I don't regret it, but I'm glad. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and sometimes and I think it's actually, I'm actually envious sometimes of first-time filmmakers, because they kind of have this wonderful ignorance about how the industries work,
so
and
enthusiastic.
And it's great. And no, but it's a good thing, because I think you should be ignorant for your first film, because then you'll just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
If any filmmaker actually knew how competitive it is and how hard it is to get into these festivals and how hard it is to get distribution and how hard it is all of that too, they probably wouldn't. Most of them wouldn't do it.
And this is after like putting all the blood, sweat, and tears into making the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not even done at that point, right?
No,
Scraping all the
it's
money together, selling your blood.
It's about the halfway point, and this is where this is why it's really important to Jen and I to really help. Because we look at because most of the films we play, all the films are at least a Toronto premiere, very few exceptions, and then there's sometimes their world and Canadian premiere. So they're launching their film, and a lot of times they're local screenings for them, and so we're doing a lot to try and help develop it so that it's a lot of times they'll play a couple of festivals and then they go, well, now what do we do? I've literally had emails from filmmakers go, Kelly, we had a great screening a couple months ago. I don't know what to do now. Like, and they're kind of too, and that's something that's kind of like it's been.
So that's a big part of the reason why we launched the industry stuff that we're doing, which this year we've rebranded to the Deadly Exposure Industry Market. So part of that is bringing in distributors and funders and the other industry folks that a first time or a new filmmaker would not have connections with. So we're able to build that bridge between the filmmakers who have finished their films. They're like, well, now what? We can kind of show them the door, like, here, go talk to this person, sell your film.
There's a distribution panel, like a tax credit panel, those things.
Yep.
So there's several things that we're doing this year. There's a new event that we're adding, which is a power networking roundtable session. So it's really intensive, face-to-face meetings with some really great people. Telefilm's taking part. XYZ Films is going to be there.
We just found out CBC is actually going to be
CBC is
there.
coming this
Nice.
year, which
So,
we're really
yeah,
excited
yeah,
about.
yeah.
So yeah, being able to introduce filmmakers to those kind of industry people, I mean, that helps them build their careers. It helps us because hopefully they'll go off and develop new things and bigger and better films, which is better content for us next year. So yeah, I mean, it just all feeds into our mandate of promoting Canadian filmmakers.
And the great thing is too, and this is where it feeds back to the user experience for the filmmakers, is that I really strongly believe that the pass holders, the horror fan component of it, so, you know, is that I think they get a kick out of not just coming to our festival, but other festivals like ours, that they know they're going to see these films before anyone else, and they're getting to see this stuff at the beginning. I got to see it first, and the filmmakers there, so they get to meet them and
have a drink at the bar afterward.
There's a Q&A on stage, and they're seeing that kind of thing at the beginning, and it's very exciting, especially when you hear a lot of like people get frustrated by horror remakes and sequels and things that are very derivative in the larger cinema. Although I will say I think we're going through like a real good renaissance of original stuff. That was kind of more of what I would have said in this interview 2-3 years ago, but actually I should say the last little bit. But I think also too, I think it's kind of one hand washes the other. I think because we have been doing such interesting stuff on the festival level, it's actually finally seeping into what's going on in the Hollywood realm.
So since you've been doing this since 2012, how have you seen like independent filmmaking, both the community and the skills kind of growing?
It's exploding. Yeah, I mean, I started when I started in the first time I was in there was 2012, but first time really working on it was 2013. I mean, that's only a couple of years, but even I've seen like the explosion. I mean, the quality has always been really good, but every year it keeps getting better, and upping their games, and the technology's getting better. And I think there's a little bit of friendly competition, and I'm going to make the next film's going to be even better.
Well, yeah, and I think because the technology has gotten so advanced, and everyone can. I mean, there's really no excuse not to make a movie now because you have access. However, the bar has gotten so high that there is. I try and personalize my emails to either rejection letters to filmmakers as much as I can, because one of the comments that I usually end up saying to filmmakers that don't get in is that I'll say to them, you need to do a better job on your post production. Like I'll just say you have bad sound. You need to, because that's not, you're not criticizing them as they're artistically. You're kind of going, look, this is a technical thing here. If your sound is bad and your color grade, you haven't done a proper color grade, and I can tell. Like we've done this enough. We can watch the stuff and know exactly if they had a proper sound operator, if they've done color grading, if they've done all that stuff properly. If they haven't done that properly, they're not getting in. Yeah. So that kind of cuts them off. That's definitely from a technical point of view. That's good. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to show something that's a little rough around the edges. We've done that, and there's clever ways of doing that.
Which again feeds into the genre, right? Sometimes horror can be a little bit more.
Yeah. So it doesn't. I'm not saying I shouldn't confuse that with it being slick. I'm just saying there's a certain professional level. It's just the sheer fact that it's that competitive. You have to, and see, in the old days, for your listeners that might not understand what the difference we're talking about is that before the digital age, if you were, they would allow mistakes on film, because you would print the film and you have one, and if you printed it and there's a minor mistake, they're not going to go back and reshoot that scene. Whereas if you have digital, either you can look on it on screen and fix it right there on set, or you can go in and digitally change it. For example, even on an indie film like ours, like there was scenes where you could see some of the gear in the background of the shot by accident. We were able to digitally take that out without much cost, kind of like that. So those things like that would be unheard of. Like, we did our film for about $30,000. To do that film, I would say 5 years earlier would have been $300,000.
Yep.
10 years earlier would have been $3 million. And so it's kind of like, like I did the interview. I did an interview once with the director of Ginger Snaps, and that was considered, when they did the first Ginger Snaps, that was done for $6 million. I don't know any Canadian horror film that's made for $6 million now. That's considered big budget now. Back then, they were like, when I did the interview, they were like, oh, to them it was just shoestring. They have no money at all. I don't know how we ever made it for $6 million. And he's telling me these numbers, and I'm like, this is massive. I don't know anyone who makes anything above $1.5 million.
You can make 20 movies for $6 million now.
We know filmmakers that have literally have done 10 movies for $1 million total, like altogether. Yeah. So, and they look really good. So
I remember Kevin Smith talking about something similar like that. Like he scraped everything together to do Clerks, and he was fine doing Clerks, and it opened up a whole bunch of doors. And then when he started doing studio stuff like Mallrats and Chasing Amy, they would just give him this pile of money because they're studio pictures. And he's like, what do we spend it all on? Like,
Rodriguez had the same problem. He didn't know what to do with it.
Oh, there's ways to spend that money.
Yeah,
Always ways.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he found Kevin Smith was talking in the same interview. He said he eventually stopped being creative because there would be a problem. He's like, just throw 10 grand at it and it'll go away. Whereas the independent stuff was kind of forcing him to like figure it out. So it's both things,
well, it is,
right?
because sometimes money can be the enemy. You're right, because it can get, if you can throw money at it, if you don't have money, I say that's what's probably the most dynamic thing about watching independent film is that it forces filmmakers to think creatively and to think smart, because you're not going to have the resources to kind of go in. I always use the analogy of the yellow barrel thing for Jaws. Is that if Bruce and that's the name of the shark, right? Bruce ever worked, that movie wouldn't even be remembered. Spielberg's career would never have been launched if the damn shark had worked. But because it didn't work, the whole movie you're watching these yellow barrels getting chased around the whole thing, and it created all the suspense and whatnot, and it forced someone who had that genius spark inside him to do that, But then you compare it to, say, something later he did, like War of the Worlds, which I think is a terrible movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
and it was like,
we're on the same page.
And no one remembers that movie because he had tons and tons of money, and all he had was all these, Tom Cruise running around with all these digital explosions. And I remember watching that movie going, there's the problem right there. He had too much, because the studio for a movie called War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, they know they're going to make money, so they're going to give him. They're not going to put a cap on it the way they would say with Lincoln or something like that. They're going to give him anything he wants to do this, and because of that, I think that particular film suffered.
We saw that with the George Lucas between like the first 3 Star Wars and then the Phantom Menace and all that crap that came after. Which is like, it was just too much technology, right? Like
too much. Yeah. That's a perfect example where he was forced to come up with creative solutions to, like, he had to really, really hone his filmmaking skills to cut around things and show, because he wasn't able to quite show, because for example, I think even from the first Star Wars to Return of the Jedi, you've got the canteen scene, and it's like the canteen scene. He always complained about how bad the canteen scene was, the original, and so, but what worked about it was everything was in shadow, everything was in darkness, kind of thing like that, and you didn't really kind of see. You saw the creatures, but you kind of didn't a lot of times, and it worked better because you couldn't quite see anything. And I'll take this back to indie filmmaking. Here is like one of the other mistakes I always see in indie films is don't show the monster.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's the biggest problem. I see indie filmmakers that will show it, and you got to show it very fleetingly, and like that too. But you never show the monster.
This is a tangent. We'll get to the festival, back to the festival, but I was shocked because they did a recent remake of Halloween, but I want to go back to the John Carpenter one, the 1978. And one of the things that shocked me, I hadn't seen this in like years. I'd seen it like way back in the day somewhere on like late night cable or whatever. But one of the things that shocked me was the opening credits already had that eerie theme song, like right off the bat. You drop that, and then Michael's just kind of wandering around, and Jamie Lee, like, she's seeing him, and I'm like, whoa, you dropped all of that like within the first 10 minutes? I was shocked at, like, I mean, Carpenter's Carpenter, right? So it's hard to say anything, but I was just like, it's kind of like violates what you're just saying. So
what do you mean? What, so I'm not clear what you're.
I was just shocked that he kind of like that all makes sense. Like, don't show the creature, do the Jaws thing, just do yellow barrels, whatever. Yeah. But Michael Myers was in the original Halloween was just wandering around like Haddonfield, like, hey guys, what's up? Right?
Oh yeah, but here's the thing though. But there wasn't much violence in that film until the last 15 minutes of the movie. Like, you saw little things like that too. Jamie Lee Curtis, like, her character, like Laurie Strode, didn't even know anything bad was happening to her until the last 15 minutes of that movie. So she went through 90% of that movie not even aware that she was even having a bad night.
So she didn't see the monster.
Yeah, she didn't see the monster. So it's kind of like that. So that's the thing.
There you go.
So that's the thing. So the audience did, but they really kind of held back. And I think, but that movie works so much better than, say, the original Halloween 2, because I do like the idea that it leaves off where it left off, but it becomes like a body count movie where it's just like there's no suspense. Like, it's just like it's in the hospital and then boom, 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 boom all the way through. And I find that way less interesting. So I guess that's my way of looking at it. But
that's fair. That's valid.
Yeah.
So Blood in the Snow runs November 22 to November 27. what can we expect now? You've set the scene. We got a lot of cool independent Canadian horror films. What can we expect? What are some recommendations? What do you got? Give me something
I
good.
like all of them.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about our closing film, Level 16, by Danishka Esterhazy.
Yeah, it's the one with the like
Yeah.
the kind of girls, like a training school for girls or something.
Yeah, so it's like these girls are kind of in an orphanage, and every year they go up. So like when they're 8 years old, they're at level 8. When they're 9 years old, they're at level 9. And all they know is that they're being groomed for something, and they're going to be adopted out to a family. That's not what actually happened. So spoiler alert. So when they get to level 16, that's like their graduation day, and all this. They find out exactly what they're being groomed for, and then they have to escape. And it's all very exciting, but
It's very and it's very current, very topical, like that
Yes.
too. Obviously, there's shades of Handmaid's Tale in it, but it goes in a completely different direction as well. And it has there's a lot of great commentary about, frankly, I think about the Trump era and consumerism and whatnot, feminism.
yeah.
It's all there. It checks so many boxes. It's incredible.
and she's just a brilliant filmmaker.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
good horror does, though.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
But
Like,
again, that's another
yeah.
film that doesn't have a whole lot of violence in it. It's kind of all psychological.
Yeah, very psychological. Actually, I will say that's the one theme that I've noticed through this year is that it's probably the least violent of all the years that we had. It's just I think that's just kind of where filmmakers are tending to go. They're going a bit more psychological with a lot of stuff.
Well,
So
there's enough violence in real life right now. I
Yeah.
think they're kind of steering
Yeah.
clear of it.
I think because a lot of the films are a lot more like on the spooky. I mean, we have that side too, but
No, Alive is very. If you're into that kind of thing,
yeah,
Alive is
Alive
the
is
thing to go to.
definitely like that too. But there's definitely a lot more.
what's Alive about? Give me the elevator pitch.
Elevators, that one's, you know what? That's the one that hardest to describe because it's probably got the most brilliant twist ending.
Oh my god, that
of
twist
any-
ending.
We're talking Sixth Sense level.
Oh,
of-
yeah.
Like, you
yeah,
don't see it
it's-
coming,
I
but when
didn't
they-
see it coming. I
When
did
they
not.
drop it, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what's
Yeah.
going on.
Two people wake up, they have no memory, and they wake up into this wannabe doctor's dungeon, and they're all chopped up and all like that. And he's been doing all these experiments on them, and they spend the next 90 minutes trying to figure out who they are and how they got there. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Wow. Okay.
Because if I say anything else, I'm going to give it away, and I
Yes.
don't want to ruin it for anyone because it's a mind blower
Oh,
of
yeah.
of what they did that. And the filmmaker who did that,
Rob Grant.
Rob Grant, yeah, he did a film, one more interesting films that we played last year called Fake Blood, and Fake Blood was this fake documentary about filmmakers about how like about like these people that are like kind of like stalking them and what's real and what's not. So but completely different angle. So this is a real that film's a real game changer for them as well.
Oh yeah. Plus, it's from the producers of Knuckleball as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Real high quality
Yeah.
stuff come out of that group.
The other one that we're really excited about is Montreal Dead End.
Yes.
That's an anthology.
Yeah, it's an anthology. 18 filmmakers, I think 15 segments. And and it's incredible. They did this for almost no budget, and I think everyone just kind of kicked in. And the anthology thing is a bit more like an ABCs of Death because there's so many segments in it. So a lot of the segments are only like 3-4 minutes long, but somehow the team that put that they managed to put it together in such a cohesive way. It's shocking that it was not like they were able to piece it together like this. And what's neat is it all takes place over one evening and one day in Montreal. And each of the segments are named by a different area of the city.
Oh, that's cool.
Like that
Each
too.
neighborhood gets real spooky.
Yeah, they are very spooky. So they pretty much have all of the main Montreal island like represented, and it kind of like and it just jumps around the city and it shows like that neighborhood and this neighborhood, and they just do their own little take on it. And you know the tricky part about anthology films is that you know how it is. You'll get one good one and then a bad one, a good one. It's one of the most consistently good anthology films I've seen in a long time. I would say it's probably the best anthology film I've seen since Trick or Treat.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Pressure's on.
Yeah,
Yep.
pressure's on.
And another hallmark of the festival is you guys also play a lot of shorts as well.
Yes, we love
Yeah,
our shorts.
So what's going on with the shorts? Can you give me a breakdown or recommendations or anything? Or
Well, this it's funny. This year we thought we were making our lives easier by creating a second shorts program this year because normally we have one, and we decided to boost it to two, and even the ones that didn't make the cut, like that, I thought it was going to make our lives easier about like because there was a lot of films last year that we turned down that I had to do the email of look, we wanted to play it, we just simply didn't have space. That still happened this year.
Mhm.
That's kind of like that too. So we've added, so we're doing 2 shorts programs, but one on our tradition is always to have ours we do ours a little differently. And most shorts programs are put in the afternoon time slot. Nothing wrong with that, but we've always made a point of ever since year 2, we've always put it in our primetime slot, and usually Saturday at 7 p.m., which we're doing again, and to have it there because we feel like it shouldn't. I think it deserves the quality is so good. I think it deserves a primetime slot. So we're doing that, but then we've added a second program, a second showcase program on Sunday night at 9:30, and we're adding that as well. So I don't know what else to say about it other than I just think it's really.
I'd like to jump in about one of the shorts that
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
super excited about. So there's a group of kids from the Katewi school in Yellowknife.
Oh.
They're like elementary to like maybe mid-high school students, so like maybe like 10 years old.
Yeah,
or like
grade 4 to grade
15.
9, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah.
Out of Yellowknife that put together this brilliant little short film called Frostbite, which is about like it's kind of like a public service announcement to other kids about keeping yourself covered up in the cold so you don't get frostbite. But this project was put together almost entirely by the students, and it's just so brilliantly done.
Yeah, and so they did, and they did it so that there's like this little creature called the frostbite monster that will get you
Oh.
if you.
That's
if you-
cool.
It's a little 5-minute short that they did like that, and we just found out the other day that 2 of the filmmakers of that and their principal are going to fly down.
What?
From-
That's so cool.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
When I
yeah.
say we have filmmakers come from all across Canada,
Mhm.
we mean everywhere.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
getting that. So that we were jumping up and down when we heard this. We were so we can't wait for them to show up kind of like that too, because because also too is a good chunk of the class is Indigenous, and that's one thing that we've been looking really harder at the last couple of years is trying to have those kinds of voices shown at our festival. And so to have them come down and hopefully we can inspire them and so like that. I'm on a personal level, that's like almost like a social justice kind of level. I'm just really
Plus,
excited
I want
for
to
them.
see those stories. I mean, it's kind of largely untapped with like horror genre in the indigenous stories. But they're starting to come through. Like we're starting to see more of it happening, and I'm just really excited where that's going to take the whole industry.
We have to give credit to another festival called Dead North.
Yes.
That actually I think one other film as well. No, two other films that we're playing. That came from we partnered up with them. They have like a film festival, but it's a little differently. What they do is they have all the anyone who makes a film gets shown over a couple of days, and the idea is that it gets them out of the house in the winter when it's dead of night.
6 months of night.
6 months of night, and they'll get out and actually go do a film project. So they'll show everyone's over a couple of days, and so I got in touch with them and I said, can you send down get them to submit some of this stuff down, and we ended up picking 3 of them this year.
Well done.
And and so like that too. So it was really kind of like, and so it opened up, and so you wouldn't even think like all these great films from the territories are getting made, and there was like dozens to pick from. It was incredible.
Yep.
I couldn't believe like how many you would never know. Like that shows you how diverse Canada is and how much different things. We do get, as a film community, we tend to get a little siloed where it's either Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver. And the reality is that's probably about 80% of the film business comes from.
And that's where a lot of our film infrastructure is.
It
too.
is. It is. No, in all reality, I mean that's where you're gonna have the best crews. I mean, this is where Hollywood North is.
Although it's spreading,
Yeah,
I think
but it's
it's
spreading
moving
now, yeah.
east too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's also like related to that, there was another one that stood out to me, Altered Skin,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That takes place in Pakistan.
That's right. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
filmed in Pakistan.
Filmed in
By a
Pakistan.
filmmaker who's based here in Toronto.
Yeah. That we kind of that was one of the things that we did on the last couple of years, and where it created an opportunity that we could play a film like this, because we tended to be a little more rigid about what was a Canadian film a few years ago, and we opened up. We loosened up the regulations because we just wanted to have a little bit more flexibility of what we can, and we're noticing there was a lot more co-productions going on. A lot of filmmakers we know were working abroad. Because we played 2 films last year that weren't even Canadian directors. But they shot their film here. They used a Canadian cast and crew and money here. And then this year, so this was a Toronto-based, like Jen was saying, a Toronto-based producer, director, all the post-production was done here on the music, but it was all done in Pakistan. And also that's one thing. And what's really great about too, just as a side, is it kind of goes back to what we were saying before, but the diversity aspect. We actually have a diversity panel this year, and we're trying to not only help with gender part, but we're also trying to have a lot more people of color being shown on screen. And there's a bit of a tendency to have kind of a whites only thing with casting. And so by even having a film that's shot in Pakistan and predominantly Pakistani cast and crew on it, we felt like that would really because basically it's a zombie film, but having that kind of angle of it, kind of thing like that was really interesting. Yeah.
Is that a genre thing too as well? I mean, a lot of white people die in horror films more than like.
Yeah.
I mean, we've recently had like Get Out and things like that. They're starting to shift a little bit.
I think
but
we've had a little bit of I don't want to say systemic issues, but maybe doors haven't been opened enough for other people, other demographics, and that's part of what we're really aiming to do that with Bits, because Canada is made up of people come from all over the world here, so we really like to say that only white people like horror films. I think is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think success of films like Get Out proves that there is a market for all this stuff. So we want our festival to reflect the rest of Canada.
And I mean, you and I have talked, Jen. You and I have talked about this a couple of times about the whole thing of like people are surprised that girls like horror movies too.
My God. Well, I think
right? I'm like, I can't like.
It's fully 50-50 in terms of our audience.
Yeah. No, it's not. The idea that our audience is like a white boys club that's coming is not true. And we try and reflect that in, we're working at even improving it better than it is. I don't want to say like we've got it better than anyone else, but we definitely have room for improvement on that. But having said that, we do have I think we have a fairly diverse, especially with gender, diversity team. Like 2/3 of our board of directors are women. Over half our staff, half our volunteers are women, half our programming team is women. So we kind of that too. I think we need to work a little bit more on getting more people of color on the team. That too. But Carolyn Morissette, who our programmer.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, she's a nice lady.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and she's been a really strong advocate for doing this, and she's the one hosting, putting together this diversity. In fact, she came to me actually when we were getting submissions and kind of saying to me like, I'm really getting frustrated about because there's still a lot of just the same old on screen. And I'm a very much a doer. I'm a problem solver. And I'm like, let's do something about it. Let's do a diversity committee. Let's have a panel. Let's do something about like that. Well, my attitude in life is be the change that you want to be, and especially being a white male myself, kind of say a white straight male is like I'm in a position of being an ally and an advocate, and and so it's kind of like I'm in a position of power, and so I have a social responsibility to do that and be that. And the great thing about bringing it back to the horror thing is the genre thing is the great thing about it is that our festival, because we're getting a little kind of social conscious and political, but really, I mean, we're really a fun festival. And the great thing about this is that we're showing films that are like fun to watch, and so we're kind of making the change without staying with supporting Canadian content. Like we don't hide obviously that we're Canadian. We're actually, in fact, we make jokes about it. We embrace it, but we never make it look like you're taking your medicine. Like
that makes sense.
We always make it like it's always about having a good time, and the genre stuff is about having a good time.
Yeah, and just jumping back to about the diversity in horror. This is a big part of why we want to do the industry stuff, because I mean it's one thing to you probably heard the stories about Jason Blum there a couple weeks ago about how they've never hired a woman director.
Yeah, he got in
trouble.
trouble.
And his answer was, well, there just aren't enough.
Oh.
And maybe numerically that's true, but that's not good enough. Like for us, it's, okay, so there's not enough women, there's not enough people of color in
I could name you 6 directors, female directors that have played our festival, and like that. And we're not even the biggest fish by any stretch. That could easily go in and handle one of his budgets tomorrow.
Yeah, but
tomorrow.
I mean, our goal is we can't just sit back and say, oh, they just don't exist. We have to create that opportunity for them. Yeah. So, we're connecting those filmmakers that you distributors, you should know about these people.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we see our role sitting in all this.
Yeah, it's kind of because we're not really gatekeepers, but we're at the we're like the doorman, you know what I mean? Like we're kind of like we're the valet, you know. We can kind of like direct them in the right way, kind of thing like that. It's like that. Yeah,
the neon sign.
What?
You're the neon
yeah,
sign.
Yeah, we're kind of like I would say matchmaker. I think matchmaker is probably a good way. It's like, oh, you should meet this person. You should meet this person.
Yep.
And we've been doing that kind of more. We've had industry stuff since year 2, but I think we've been doing it a bit more informally, especially with our cocktail stuff and our after parties, because anyone's been to our fest, our after parties are pretty infamous. So.
Oh, they're fun.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to kind of hand the business cards and do the talk when we're a bit more sober during the day, as just like, and then you go home with a pocket full of business cards and don't remember who you talked to. It's kind of good to.
There's a pro tip for you there.
What?
That's a pro tip for the listeners.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on a thread you were just saying, Kelly. What ends up happening, sometimes you'll see like a really cool film advertised in a film festival like this, and you're like, oh, I want to get to, but you can't make it to the screening or something happen. And then so you sometimes have a hard time finding that film afterwards. How is distribution now? Is it getting better? Is it improving now that we have more Netflix and streaming services, or is it more difficult still for?
We're it's better than it was a few years ago. There's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. The problem, it was I have to admit, it was very bleak probably about 2-3 years ago. Where we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel is, and this is one thing that we've added this year, is our web series program. Is that the light at the end of the tunnel is television, and it is and so we're seeing a lot more web series being funded. We're seeing a lot more television shows being, because honestly, the more interesting stuff that when most people are talking about the stuff that getting them excited now are the things that are on Shudder, Crave, Netflix, Amazon Prime.
CBC's got a great web stuff now.
Yeah, they're going to that. Which, by the way, they will be at our festival, so I'm excited with that. I'll keep saying that. But that's why I'm excited about, because now we're actually kind of seeing like where this can go, and I think what you're going to see is a lot less. You're not going to see a lot of theatrical for independent films in the future. I think festivals are going to be the theatrical. We're going to be, you'll see them play you're going to see them play a number of festivals, and then it will be going to a digital provider that is in kin to what they're doing. So what you'll see is that you'll see, I don't think you're going to see people not going to the cinema. I think they're going to be more, they're just more selective, and and it goes back to what you were originally saying too about, but wanting to see it as a group experience, because it's like, because what we can do is create that kind of buzz and user experience to have it together. But then you can go back and if you did miss it, you can watch it on a digital platform, and not everyone can make it, or if they're not in Toronto or things like that, they can. But at least they'll hear about it. They might hear about it playing Blood in the Snow or one of these other festivals like ours, and then be able to go check it out afterwards. So I think that's kind of where it's kind of going. Because even like a couple of the films that we're playing are both Super Grid, or our opening film in Level 16, I believe are doing.
They're both theatrical.
Yeah, they're both theatrical, and then they're going to be going to VOD right after that. So it's not like, I want to say it's not like you can't do theatrical. It's just like it's getting less and less and less of it. I mean, we have to be just honest with where things are going, and there's just less theaters to have that. There's the more monopolies by certain chains that are making it harder and harder to show independent film.
Yeah, because the flip side of that coin is like with social media and stuff now, you'll see something playing in like in Austin, Texas or something at another film festival.
Yeah.
You're like, that movie sounds so cool, or you see the trailer online. I'm like, where can I see this? I want to support the dude or the dudette or whoever made that. Like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Right? And then just like it doesn't travel all the way out here because it's all the way out west. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of frustrating sometimes.
Well, I think finally the business model is starting to exist for distributors again. Because I mean, when Walmart stopped stocking DVDs and theatricals dying, they were kind of like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But now it's the online stuff has really got a business model. So I think we're starting to see more stuff has a home now.
Yeah, because like one of our producing partners, our Examit, we've produced with, and she's very involved in the web series community, and she's hosting our web panel. And she kept telling Jen and I to do a web series or get involved. And we just looked at her and this is like 3-4 years ago. We're like, there's no business model. You're going to do like one series and then nothing. And it's true. At the time, there wasn't. There's like, and now we're kind of looking around going, that we're going to do that.
That's where the action is now.
That's really where the action is now, is really kind of like those kinds of limited series is where I think you're going to hear the term limited series a lot more. Where it's not, you're not getting like a full thing.
Like maybe a 6-episode or 10-episode.
Yeah, kind of like that
thing.
too. A contained thing, and then kind of see how that goes and like that too. And you're going to see a lot more. I think you're going to see a lot more commitment to that. And I think that, and then because of those digital platforms, is going to make it a lot easier for people, like you said, can't make it out to Fantastic Fest to see the film, but they heard about it.
Yeah,
right. They heard about it.
Yeah,
and then that's kind of like, and that's kind of where I think that's where we come in, as we become part of that marketing tool. Because I think one thing that we still have to sometimes fight with distributors and filmmakers is that they worry sometimes about playing a film festival. It's going to take away from the theatrical, and they have to understand that the theatrical is part of their marketing. The money, you don't make money in theatrical. You haven't. There's been no money in theatrical for decades, but but it's even more so now. It's like whatever you're putting into the theatrical, you're going to lose money in the front end, and hopefully that's going to help create buzz for the back end for when you're putting that out there. But like what Jen was saying was like the business model before was the physical media stuff. Is like what happens is you could sell a certain amount that was going to be in Walmart and things like that. That would at least get the bottom, like the bottom line out, kind of thing like that.
And we've seen too with horror films, sometimes it takes a while for them to find an audience, right? They're like little hidden gems, and then it takes a while for the people to kind of come around and are like, oh, this was a really good movie.
This is why I'm a huge fan of the platform Shudder, which if anybody doesn't know what it is, it's basically Netflix for horror films. So you can kind of go on there and peruse, and they've got a whole section there on Canadian horror if you want to check it out.
Yeah, I know it's definitely that. I think those kinds of platforms are definitely where things are going, and it's funny though. But at the same time though, it's like it's only one part of the equation, because it's like, because back to like what we do is like it will never replace what we do as a festival, because we're much like we're like vinyl, or even and thing is, or even like, because actually I should clarify too, DVDs haven't gone away. It's just become more of a niche market.
Nothing ever.
Nothing ever
dies.
Should mention, and actually we just announced it today for pre-sales. We have a new DVD that just came out called Bloody Bits Volume 2. It's our second release with Black Fawn Distribution. And we took 10 of our shorts that have played the festival, and we put on a DVD. And the DVD, the first one sold very well. And also going back to our film, Late Night Double Feature, we did better on Blu-ray than we did on any of the VOD platforms. So people do want, it's just more of a niche market.
And horror fans really love the
horror fans love
media.
that. When we go to conventions, it's all about the physical. Everyone loves DVDs and Blu-rays. Just go.
VHS is back.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But it feeds into the classic horror tradition of the poster too, right? You want those images and stuff, and that's another like iconic element of horror.
And even at our festival, that's one thing that we do that I don't know anyone who does this. Some of our after parties is at a local gallery called the Super Wonder Gallery. And when we started doing this last year, and we're going to do it again this year, is we actually have a poster show of all of the posters that are playing our festival. So if you come on the Friday and Saturday night for our festival, you'll be able to, that's like where our after party is. You'll get to see that, because that is a part of the festival that people don't neglect. It. We have an award for best poster, and we want to put them on display and show all the hard work that's been put into these great works of art. And it's part of the process of making movies, is doing that kind of thing.
So zooming out of Canadian horror and just looking at horror as a genre itself, and you mentioned like you seem to be expecting or hoping that we're going to be getting a lot more horror, because we've been getting a lot of those like 5 to 10 million movies like Lights Out, It Follows, those ones, Bye Bye Man, right? And that 5 to 10, 15, 20 million genres range. So are we going to be expecting a lot more of those, you think, as
I think so.
Trump and all the anxiousness kind of raises?
Oh yeah, no, it's bigger. It's bigger than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's research behind this, but when the world is kind of really scary in real life, people tend to move towards entertainment, and they move towards horror films because it's kind of a cathartic way to experience those emotions in a safe space. So especially when you're in a theater full of your friends and you're like, there's a killer coming around the corner, you're like in your brain you can be like, oh my god, maybe that's like a metaphor for Trump, and then we're gonna kill the bad guy, so you can work out a lot of those anxieties.
Horror films did not exist really I mean, you could say that was sort of did with silent era, but really horror films didn't really come into its own until the Depression era. And that's when the Universal horror movies came out and like that too. And that's really when that got started. If you really look at the birth of horror as it like that too. And you can almost look at every single major benchmark we've had in horror. Then the next major benchmark you could probably say was Night of the Living Dead. And and look at what's going on with civil rights with that movie and kind of that too. And Rosemary's Baby about women's body rights and whatnot and whatnot and people questioning the church and things like that with the exorcist. I mean, there's so many things you can just point to as you go along in the time like that. It's kind of gone away now, but there's a complete parallel. There's not a coincidence that the whole era of torture porn came on when Guantanamo Bay was really in the news about kind of like that too, about what that too, like that too. All the Hostel and Saw movies and stuff like that. That was all.
Can't do that genre.
But but it was a reflection of that was on the social consciousness of people in society when that was going on. That was what was going on in the 2000s. That was what was on people's minds.
Last question. That's probably the most important one I've asked you. We'll start with you, Jen. Could you guys survive a horror movie?
I don't know.
You're a tough broad, Jen. I think you could pull it off, though.
I mean, I do have the It Follows soundtrack on my workout tape, so maybe I'm working on it.
All right.
I think I'd be the horror film.
Oh, that's probably true.
I'm just like I watched The Shining, and I'm like, I see Jack trying to work, and I'm like, when you see me typing, I'm just kind of like this, like
I'll go get my baseball bat.
I'm just like, just like when I see me typing or not typing, I'm just like that too. I'm trying to work. I'm like that too, and I hate to say it, but I'm kind of like I kind of relate to that a little bit. I shouldn't say that, but I do.
It's out there now.
It's out there now. It's out there forever.
It's out there, yeah, forever. There, yeah.
So all the details are at bloodinthesnow.ca.
That's right.
And deadly exposure passes are 65% sold out.
Oh, we're
more
than that now.
More than that now? Oh, man, they're going fast. So get on that. And Blood in the Snow runs November 22 to November 27. It's all at the Royal Cinema.
Yep.
Thank you guys for coming in and talking horror and providing the festival, too. Yeah. So I will see you there.
Well, thank you for having us. Yeah.
This is fun, so thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right.
My name is Sammy. You can follow me on the Twitter at My Pal Sammy. This has been my summer lair.